All right, gather around. Come on in, guys. Huddle up. I wanna chat with y'all real quick before Coach gets here. Now, I think we can all admit, that wasn't the best look for us on the Rift out there in that last game. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. You know me. I'm an honest talker. So Coach Golden Glue is gonna come in here any second now. He's gonna give his thoughts. So I want everyone on their best behavior. Gamsu, I'm looking at you. I know you like to crack jokes, but let's cut the chit chat here. And Busio, remember, stay off the phone. Okay. Oh, here he comes. All right. Here's Coach.
Thanks, Coach. I guess that was a tough loss, guys. For next game, we got to be better. Okay. Gamsu, I need you to be that rock in the top lane that I know you can be. I'm gonna give you the honors of the Cash App counter pick. #sponsored. Okay. Use that to decimate them. Jimmy, show me why you flew over from Taiwan. Make these guys suffer in game, okay? And to my bot lane, Quixie Busio, you guys are Zoomers. Just keep zooming on them. Zoom on them like you're a champion that was released in 2022, okay?
Zoom.
If we win, we're going to get that #Chipotle burrito, okay? Bring it in.
Yeah.
Thieves on 3.
Oh,
1, 2, 3,
Thieves! Thank you, Coach Golden Glue, for coming in and giving this rousing speech. Now, I hope you are all sufficiently inspired after hearing Coach's words, okay? A loss is a loss. Can't do anything about the past. We got to focus on the future and get us into that next game, okay? So, you heard the coach. Let's get to work. And with that said, we're going to send it to a short break before we bring it back in with the casters for game number 2.
I'm getting closer to the line. By the time I'm changing my remedy, blowing up, I get sick and tired of this. What a truth. No one talk now. I'm feeling lost on it. Silence is loud. I get it safe from it. What a truth. Hey, I gotta say, something's going wrong, and everything's upside down. I'm falling. Hey, I gotta say, I'm always on a run. I'm getting closer to the light.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, as we're preparing for game number 2 between Evil Geniuses Academy and 100 Thieves Academy. What an end to that game. An insane final Baron take and then that team fight. But before we get to that, we got to give some mad props and maybe change our expectations for what this matchup is going to be, Tigers, because we talked about bot lane and we were hyping up that matchup. But it was Surdy that comes out the gate swinging and absolutely pops off.
Yes, Surdy has been the big question mark on this team, just in terms of, okay, what's this team going to look like with him over time? And now we have seen multiple games where he pops off. And I think just even early on, right, when you see the jungler coming and it's him 1v2, the fact that he had such stability of mind and knowledge of the champ to know, all right, I can still go for this and I can come out on top even when my HP bar is this low, it just set the tone for how he was able to pilot that champ for the rest of the game.
Yeah, he was huge in terms of having something to lean on when things went bad, because there was a moment in time where I was like, okay, EG are going to lose this game. Their bot lane was getting obliterated. You know, we were hyping up Quixie and Busio for good reason, clearly. They dominated with that Braum, and I was like, okay, I guess this game's over despite that initial good start for Surdy. But he continued to make plays throughout the game and kind of became the backbone for the team.
It was opposite sides of the map that was carrying each of those teams. You talked about Wixie and Busio, and the fact that they won the 2v2 against Cowrie Skytech, who have been winning a lot of their 2v2s, that was getting me hype at first. But, I mean, going back to that Surdy point, there was even a moment, I wish we could have gotten a replay of it, but I believe we're going to post it to socials, where Surdy's backing under turret. Gamsu's just being Graves, just being annoying, just stopping his back. He stops it 3 times and then dies for it. And Surdy's just dancing under turret. I know that the two of you noticed that in the game. So Surdy, not only was he just winning the game, but he was flexing on him too. He was having a good time with it. And then that final fight at the Baron, the whole team ready to pounce on that one charm from Soligo that lands. And who's the one that goes in first? It's Surdy on the Gwen. Mark, is he in those moments when you're a young player who's up in a league against the top lanes like Darshan, like Dokla, like Viper? This means so much for a player like Surdy to have this level of pop-off performance.
I think it shows that you can hang. I'm sure every time you're starting into a new position, whether that be Academy or LCS or anywhere up the ladder, even when you make Worlds, some of those players, you get into this moment where you're like, oh my God, do I belong here kind of thing? And these are the things that will always, restore confidence with yourself. I think it was the Ayla interview yesterday where I forget who was interviewing him, but they talked about how, you're playing next to Core JJ, or like you're taking his spot, you're playing next to Han Sama and stuff like that. And you get these players who end up in these positions. And I think Surdy made the most of it here. This game absolutely was crushing the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think overall what we're realizing, especially this year, more so than maybe eyes have been on it in the past, a lot of viewership around Academy and realizing that the skill gap between Academy players and LCS players definitely not that far. Like I'll go on record saying that. I know obviously I might be a little biased, and the two of you can have your own thoughts on that, but I look at these Academy players, especially these younger ones coming in, and they're already impressing me so much. But Tigers, I want to get your thoughts. Now let's talk from the 100 Thieves Academy side, because they did have moments in that game where it looked like they could have closed things out. It looked like they were in control. How do they bounce back from what like that? We heard from Coach Golden Glue. He gave his thoughts. But what are yours?
I think a lot of times with teams in this position, it is the mid game where they run into the most issue, because one thing that Mark touched on during the actual gameplay is it really is difficult to know where your power lies, if you're strong enough to take some of those engages. So as soon as things kind of went wrong and they thought, oh, we had all these bot advantages, now what do we do with it after we got a little bit punished over in our own bot side jungle? That's where that hesitation came in. And we saw a lot of times of, oh, we're moving together, we don't want to get picked off, we're trying to make sure that we don't become the victim of isolated picks. But then when you're focusing a lot on that, there's not a lot of playmaking opportunity. And then EG had a lot of scaling chances and just had a lot of trust when somebody did land something like a charm that ended up getting someone blasted up. So I think finding ways to capitalize upon those leads earlier, or looking to whatever voice they typically look to in that mid game to come up with a plan when there isn't one just straight and executable for them to follow, is going to be crucial.
And talking about mid-game in specific, there's two key things that I want to note there, and both of them are on 100 Thieves Academy mid laner, Jimmian. The build in particular, something that we looked at, it's a very defensive build, going for the crown, and then the full Morello's trying to, stop some of that healing coming in from the Gwen. But then also there was one moment in the mid-game where it looks like we saw Kenvi and Busio together trying to chase down Soligo, who used Charm, didn't have any more ult stacks, and no flash. But then Jimmian gets scared to try and flank around because he sees Surdy coming in. And it's those moments where Jimmian had to blow his flash regardless, and he flashed defensively rather than aggressively to try and get the kill onto Soligo and turn that into a positive play. It's those kinds of things that I look at for 100 Thieves Academy is, what's their communication look like? How are they making these decisions in the mid game to go from point A to point B and say, this is the play that we're committing a support roam to, we're committing a dive, and three of us are on vision. We got to get something for this, because they didn't get anything for it, and then they lost the push bot side, and I believe that there's even a turret taken from Evil Geniuses. So Mark Z, I'm curious, from a macro perspective, kind of thinking from 100 Thieves' point of view, kind of what do you do in scenarios right now going into a next game? How do they try and clean some of those things up?
Unfortunately, high-level macro stuff is hard to fix from game to game. I think that's one of the areas where a team can kind of get exposed, because like draft things you can identify, you can put yourself in better matchups, you can have better early games. But that example you talk about, there was also the setup to that Baron that ended the game. We kept talking about what happened after the Baron, but the start to the Baron was a disaster, where Surdy was pushing down the bot lane, Kenvi soloing the dragon, and then you have only 3 men trying to stop a 4-man Baron attempt, and your jungler's not there. So they just burned it down. They're like, you can't smite steal without your jungler here. And so they were kind of just losing all over the map and only getting the 3rd dragon out of it. So I think these are some things that a coach is going to want to iron out between weeks, not necessarily between games.
EGA looking strong. 100 Thieves Academy hoping to bounce back after that loss. But Pick and Ban is ready, so I'm going to pass it back over to the Tigers to take us away for Pick and Ban of game number 2.
Game 2, baby. EG looking to string it together for the 2-0. 100 Thieves want to break into it. And EG Academy last year had a reputation for going 1-1 in many of their best of twos. So I'm sure here early in the season, we're only in week 4, they want to expel that and get as many nice dominant 2-0s as possible. But Champ Select right out the gate, fresh. No more for this world. Once again, more supportive style bans away. We've talked about the flexibility of the karma, and then no Caitlyn as well. Pretty standard. Mark, I don't think we're ever going to see a Zeri game. I don't think.
No. Zeri's on the permaban list. I do think the double support ban is interesting from EG. It's a bit of a respect to Busio. If it's like, you can pop off that hard on the Braum, we don't want to see you on a more aggressive, enchanter or playmaker like Thresh. So I think EG is giving credit to 100 Thieves bot lane after that first game, going like, okay, you kind of got us a couple times there in the lane, so a couple more bans thrown their way. Maybe they'll hold support counterpick this time because the Braum was taken into the Nautilus to stuff it, but then they also were able to make a lot of plays on them. So I would like to see EG give a little bit of priority to Skytech in his champion there. Jinx taken away. I already talked about how much I love Jinx, but giving your support the opportunity to counterpick, I think, will be a big part of having a better laning phase.
Yeah, Busio did look really, really good in that last game, in that laning phase. I think Skytech was 0-4 when they started to kind of get into the action. It wasn't until the team fighting that he got to show, okay, I'll be the tanky boy. I'll target some isolation here. Ooh.
I will say, as we see an early Kennen taken, that's interesting. Okay, they quit out. Something went wrong.
Psych!
Someone goes, are you allowed to do that? It felt like they were spamming between like, what am I gonna pick? What am I gonna pick? I'm trolling, and then they actually trolled and locked something in. Serty in chat in the lobby goes, are you allowed to do that? XD.
Well, we'll be on standby while they figure that out. That would have been a little bit of a fresh pick, fresh strategy from 100
Not
Thieves.
like Kennen is a terrible champion, but first pick
Early.
line Kennen would be a surprise. And given the way they were swapping champions, it felt like 100 Thieves were having miscommunications in draft. It does happen sometimes where you're panicking, you don't know what to lock in, and something random happens. The quit out, who knows? Maybe someone DC'd, and that's why they did it. We'll have to see if it gets sorted, but otherwise, a little surprised.
Yeah, we'll have a take 2 of that when it's available for Champion Select here in game number 2. And I mean, if you're trying to think, okay, what is going to bring us the advantages in game number 2 compared to game number 1? Because they had Kenvi on the Lee Sin, they had a lot of the comfort picks available to them. And as we said, they did pilot those picks well in those earlier portions, so it's not necessarily like they have to run away from the composition that they brought through, and they're on red side once again, so running it back in that direction as well.
Yeah, I said that I preferred the EG draft just because it had a little bit more productivity, but there was nothing inherently wrong with the 100 Thieves draft. They had the PowerPoint around the Graves. That didn't quite go that well, but they ended up doing great in the bot lane and the mid lane, and so it should have been a win for them, I think, when they were up 4,000 or 5,000. So I think this is one of those games where you're not afraid to run it back a little bit with some small tweaks potentially. Maybe that Gwen is something you look at trying to find a different answer into other than the Graves. But given the fact that the Jinx was first picked, already we know that it's a different draft because last time around it was the Gwen first pick.
Yeah, it feels like a game where more reliant upon, okay, Coach Golden Glue getting their mentals back into it, recognizing that maybe some mistakes made in the mid game and beyond, but it is doable, it is winnable. And here in the best of 2, they have the opportunity to try and turn that tide. I'm sure that we're going to see the same bans come through as well, because it didn't seem like any of that difficulty came until that second pick here. So, but still, making sure to shut down Busio and his potential. Now, there's no Caitlyn this time, but we've seen him play on the enchanters and things as well. The Caitlyn Lux lane that you often see on blue side, for instance, though it didn't work out that great against the Ivern comp that they played previously. But TF also eliminated.
Yeah,
we'll be getting to it.
It's the same bans as before, or so it should be, which means it should also be a Jinx first pick, which means it should also then be, what I'm curious about is the Kenvi lock-in, if we're going to see the Kennen again, if they were actually making a mistake in an oopsie, or if that was just a bug that happened. Because it was a Felios Kennen they ended up locking in, so we'll see.
Yeah, and If I remember correctly, I don't think that Gamsu has played Kennen in Academy this year thus far, though we've seen it as a pick that's fluttered around, so we'll see. It does look like Kenvi wants to stick with the Lee Sin, recognizing I'm very good with this pick. I created a name for myself with said champion. So let's try and run it back a little bit. And last time, he wasn't able to necessarily get some of those early ganks off in an effective way to have a super snowbally lead. Maybe something different this time around.
Yeah. Not sure what happened with the draft before, but the Lee Sin instead of a Kennen. A little sus about what happened. The Volibear response I find interesting. It's something that I like most of the time. I see it. Chem Tank being very strong on him, being able to dash in there, turn turrets off, make dives happen. I especially like it if you have a clear lane that you want to play through, which they don't have quite yet. I assume that means that they're trying to get a counter pick in either top or mid, because that's what you really want, is something that you can kind of do your guaranteed run up stun. If they have some setup CC, and you're guaranteed to get in there and really actually start being able to dive these lanes and explode a lane open with the ability to turn off turrets. I think that's where Volibear can shine the most. If you pick him into a lane where you're kind of just scaling, you know, it's like, well, what is he expected to do other than kind of just like run in circles and try and kill scuttle crabs or something?
And while the Nautilus did struggle in the 2v2 by Skytech, they stick with the pick, want to keep the same lane. This is still something that can powerfully scale and worked out in the long run for just the lockdown in the team fights, isolating a lot of the targets with that depth charge. And then Busio on the Braum. So many good glacial fissures just to pop someone up. Like the Jinx, very immobile. So especially if you get the right line down the center, you can just make sure that there's no escape in a lot of those close quarters jungle fights that they had.
Yeah, I think I always consider Nautilus a feeder champ, meaning that like when things start going bad and you're expected to be a frontliner for your team, they continue to go very bad, especially now that most Nautiluses take Glacial Augment instead of Aftershock. So before, you at least had like this little window where you're hard to kill, but if you're behind, you're expected to queue in there and start a fight out, and all you have is Glacial Augment to protect you, like, you're gonna die a lot. And so the fact that, yeah, he died 4 times relatively early on, but then actually kind of recovered that game for himself was pretty impressive from Skytech. And he had some good engages in the mid to late game around that Rift Herald pit, for example, when they collapsed back in with Surdy. You know, like, he actually was able to recover from a terrible spot that he was in.
And people think of Nautilus, oh yeah, frontline, big tanky, but it takes him a bit to get there.
He's
so
paper.
The early stages, yeah, just little poppity pop. Oh, no shield. Oh gosh, what am I gonna do? So that is some of the difficulty when you decide to bring that champ through, because it takes some time to be able to offset in that way. And yeah, having the Glacial Augment, a lot of the supports are, you know, still choosing depending on the rest of their comp. Do I want to go for Guardian? Do I want to go for Glacial Augment? Maybe if I don't have any other tanks whatsoever on my team, then I'll go with the Guardian. But if there's enough to capitalize upon my CC, then it's just the better one, which is the case for this pick in particular. So sticking with the guns on the side of EG in that way, but switch up in what Gamsu will be picking this time. No Graves, the Jace instead, and a good old classic control mage for Soligo with Orianna.
This is interesting that they chose to show top lane first with the Graves. A bit of a call out on Surdy that he doesn't have a counter pick that they're scared about, because normally, like I was talking about with the Volibear, if you give up a fragile champion like Jace can kind of be to a counter pick, then you combo with the Volibear chain ganking it. You know, like if it's a Wukong or something that you're playing into it, you can really crap on a Jace. But they end up not going that hard on the counter pick with the Renekton, and they also grab the Orianna, like you said. So a little bit more defensive of 4-5 for EG there than I would have thought based off the fact they were showing a Jace.
And Surdy on the Renekton had some good games as of late, so looking to run it back, probably feeling himself off of stringing together some of these W performances. So classic lineup here, classic mid lane matchup that we're gonna get with the Azir as well, with a lot of people trying to jump right on you. You want someone that can push him away.
Yeah, a fair amount of disengage for that team. The Braum, Azir combined, even Kemby in that game, we saw sometimes use the Dragon's Rage defensively, booting people away from Wixie and stuff. So this game for them is a lot about lane control. The bot lane should be, again, with the Braum, able to stuff a lot of the things that EG's bot lane might have looked for. Mid lane, Azir should be able to control that early on, and top lane will be maybe the most skirmish heavy. And again, that's expected where I would expect Kenvi to want to hover.
So if that's what you're expecting for Kenvi to maybe be on the top side and looking for a lot of laning domination from 100 Thieves, what are you looking at EG for? Where does their win condition lie?
I mean, I'll be honest, this is a pretty weak feeling early game for them. The Volibear, it's really team fighting. You want to have Volibear jump in with Renekton. They're going to stun somebody up, hopefully an Oriole, and you start getting your first Jinx reset to run through that fight. But it's not like the side of 100 Thieves have any slouch in team fighting either with Aphelios Azir. So this is one of those games where I think I actually favor 100 Thieves. They have a couple little more power points on the map. And it's going to be on Surdy, I think, to have another big game, comboing with Tomio and taking over the top side.
And if their early game looks anything like it did in game number 1 for 100 Thieves and they can just stay there, then it's their opportunity to split the scoreboard in this and bring a victory out of this best of 2. But EG rolling through and setting themselves up for the team fights later. So might get some more explosive moments from them. And I'm excited to see it. One thing I'm disappointed in, though, is Busio brought the best Braum skin last game in El Tigre Braum. And he has switched it. You went to a different skin. How dare you? Makes me sad.
Maybe they just have like a RNG. They roll a dice and they end up taking whatever it shows up. I don't know how pro players' minds work. There's the competitive ones who go, oh, this skin is blue, or its animations are slightly better, and so it blends in river, or feels a little cleaner to play. I know Police Volibear, for example, is one such skin that pretty much every Volibear player uses for the animations.
And hey, when do you know exactly why you see it here today? But all right, we're on Summoner's Rift, game number 2, baby. Pretty traditional spread out here. Gamsu just stepping up for some intel. But yeah, I'm excited to see if Kenvi, how he does in the early game this time compared to last time, where Tomio and him kind of just had more of their showing in the later portions. Wixie and Busio left a lot in that 2v2, and how this top side plays out with both Renekton and Jace wanting to bring that power to the other.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Right there, you see Gamsu actually running in, getting a check on where Tomio is starting. They see it's not on blue buff, so he knows that this gank is coming topside. That's good for him to know, because I think the Jace should be able to push the lane if he wants to into the Renekton and really chunk him out, which is how you're probably expecting to play the lane. So now we know Tomio will be coming up there to try and disrupt that play pattern.
See how that fares. This is very similar to what we saw last time, right? Skytech often throwing down the dredge line in, but does take a pretty heavy chunk in response, just wanting to create as much space for Kaori to farm up as the enemy support does the same. It was fairly early that Busio ended up getting unlocked from the lane at moments as well when they weren't going from the 2v2. So again, tracking to see where these supports bring that power and that agency, especially with some potential top lane here. But pings coming out around mid. We still know that Tomio is clearing out on the bot side, and Jimmy N dropping down the wards as well to catch some of those rotations.
I'll be honest, Orianna Azir is a matchup I've watched hundreds, maybe thousands of times, and it never gets any more interesting. There's nothing to do with meta that ever makes it interesting. It's
not like an onion.
No.
Yeah, you peel it every time.
There's no layers.
Is it just an apple? It's just the one outer and inner layer.
I don't know.
That's
it's like a brick. There's no subtlety to it. You both just lane and CS, and Azir has a little bit more control with the soldier positioning and can kind of usually shove the wave and win the matchup. But maybe at 6 you can start getting some scoops on the Orianna. That is one of the advantages it has. It has a little bit better gank setup, and we'll see if maybe Jimmy can then combo with Kenvi to find some kills.
Kenvi with some early scouting on the enemy jungler, throws down the bloom, sees that Tomio has cleared out his blue and the Gromp. Doesn't want to go for it though, because there's not much assistance here, but still the intel is everything at this stage in the game. So now instead offsetting into his own jungle for some clear as well.
Yep, this is something that they should have an advantage of. Pretty much 3 winning lanes in air quotes. None of them are like hard slamming lanes, but you should have priority in top and mid, so that will enable Kenvi to do exactly that, scout out Tomio. And then bot lane, while it doesn't always win the shove in the early levels, in the later ones, you see the power that it has and potential all-ins and stuff, and you can win some trades if you tag a Braum Q and then can get some chain CC if you have the purple gun and stuff like that. There are some windows that the bot lane can win as well. So that's why I was a little concerned for the EG side when you asked, like, what's their plan early? It's like, I don't know where Tomio wants to go exactly. I would expect to go top side, but they had a good job warding out his initial clear, and now he's back, you know, just in the bot river trying to figure out something to do.
Yep, jungler, what to do, what to do. Tomio just wants to get some more clearing on his own. And yeah, Kaori in that lane, you can see just how impactful the versatility of Wixie's kit on the Aphelios can be in lane to just punish and really chunk him down a decent amount. Because Tomio is nearby, the bot laners can feel a bit more safe in trying to just clear some of those creeps under the turrets. And right up there in top, continue trading.
Yep, nice timing window here, but there is a counter gank.
Yeah, Lee Sin is here as well. Unbreakable thrown up by Busio, and the storm comes down. A good stun onto Nautilus, but just disengaged from here. Both of the summoners blown from Wixie in that, as well as Skytech.
So a successful gank overall, getting a summoner advantage on the AD carry opens up a potential repeat gank, especially at 6. You have some potential there as Surdy trying to get aggressive onto Gamsu, but it's really hard to stick onto a well-played Jace as a Renekton. Use your dashes just to get in range, and he punts you out of there. But overall, a nice initial play by Tomio, where I was saying I don't know exactly how he's going to get involved here. Finding a potential setup now for some repeat ganks.
And off of some of the poke from Jimmy here in the mid lane, and all of the potion fills used by Sligo ends up backing right now, does have the teleport available, so won't miss out on any of the CSing opportunities, and can come back with almost fully funding of that mana bar for increased pressure here. And that early breakthrough, Skytech, for instance, having roamed over towards the mid side for additional pressure if necessary, but Jimmy N has the opportunity to back here as well after shoving in the wave. Still used teleport earlier and should be good.
Yeah, he got an earlier reset off for a little bit of extra pushing power. Sligo was trying to hang on in lane as much as he could. Now that means there's a bit of a desync teleport timer, which is one of the things that you can potentially exploit at a high level if you get this repeat kink down the bot lane. You have to be aware of the fact that Jimmy might be able to collapse and Sligo can't. That is one thing that you have to worry about for this, what I am assuming will be at Skytech 6, looking to make a gank down the bot lane.
Pretty even across the board at this point, and Dragons up. Busio's rotated back through. Stun lock. Chompers to try and create the distance. Skytech's burned on down with the ignite from the Braum, though. So he gets that first blood. Even a flash away from Kaori as the extra little ribbon on top of that present.
Wixie and Busio taking Kaori and Skytech to task. This whole series, they keep picking on this Nautilus. Like I said, he's paper in the early game and just takes a dangerous path back down through river and gets stunned up. Had the purple gun that time as well as the Braum stacks, and Wixie was just able to obliterate him. The ignite actually being what takes the kill away at the very end, so that's maybe the one saving grace, is it doesn't end up on the Aphelios, but still not what you want to see after just having the advantage. Now Kaori lost his summoners as well.
Continuous impressive play from that bot lane. So 100 Thieves have such a strong win condition in general on this roster. It's just great to see them, even in the losses, looking so strong and coordinated, particularly Busio knowing how to pilot this Braum very well, and then Wixie on the Aphelios being such a signature pick for just a lot of these ADCs. But that's first blood, which means an extension of a small gold lead for 100 Thieves. Tomio wants to try to find advantages elsewhere. The blast cone over the wall means that he shouldn't be sought out by that ward in the tri-bush, and is hanging in here nicely, but there's not enough really of a wave for them to be able to push off of this. So yeah, he's still level 5, but they still go for it. Flash for flash. Dominus activated. Surdy is level 7. He loses his jungler in this, gets the nice slice to be able to stun up onto Gamsu. One final swing will do it, and they return the kill. So 1 for 1, jungler for top laner.
I was scared that was about to be a 2 for 0 for Gamsu. Surdy luckily saves that play and gets the kill, gets the red buff onto himself as well, but that was why I said no 6 there. Tomio with 6 makes that dive happen easy. You just ult the turret to turn it off. Without it, it becomes very difficult. He ends up dying, falling behind the Lee Sin, who's able to continue to farm up. That also telegraphed that there was no one in the bot lane, so EG swapped their bot lane to topside, grabbed Rift Herald, and in response, 100 Thieves have just chunked out that bot lane turret.
So depending on what perspective you look at it, it's okay, EG. Yeah, we ended up being a a little not complete advantage by that dive, but we do get the Rift Herald. And then over on the other side, okay, we got some plates though down on this bot turret, so that's some extra gold for us to try and create a bit more of a distance between our gold and theirs. Win conditions to be played around by both, because as soon as that Rift Herald drops in any of these lanes, it is a chance to just shore up those advantages that 100 Thieves have been bringing through. A little bit better of a position now that Tomio is 6, so next time they go for one of these engages, and Soligo should be able to pick himself up a blue.
Yep, Soligo grab this blue. We'll have to see exactly how long they want to keep these lanes fought for. It doesn't look like for too long. He already does have the Rift Herald himself, so there'll probably be a little bit of an effort to get a wave pushing in their favor, drop that, get some gold on him. It's not on the jungler like you would typically expect. Gamsu, though, is getting wrapped around on.
Another patient waiting by Tomio, this time on a control ward, and didn't have to step up at all. But there's Kenvi has already come through as well with that bush rotation. So 2v2 if anything does come through, but the wave's gonna evenly crash right here in the center. Kenvi still standing on by. Who makes the play? And it's Kenvi. Goes in with a Q. Dragon's Rage. Knocks 30 back. Who activates the dominance. Crashing on down. Tomio goes for it. But it's 1 lost. It's 2 lost. 100 Thieves not coming out on top. But guess what? They've got the advantages in the bot lane. The 2v2 still looking so strong. Glacial Fissure with the lockup and the route to follow. It's 2 on one side, 2 on the other. Opposite side of the map. Advantages completed.
Yeah, it's a 3-0 Renekton. Extremely far ahead after that. Such patience by EG. I thought for sure Tomio was going to go, and it was one of those situations where whoever goes first probably loses. Slight favor to the Renekton just because he's so strong post 6, but the fact that they blew so many cooldowns on top of him means that it was so easy. I was so surprised Tomio did not go earlier. Whoa! Cut out of that replay.
Ooh, right down the line. So, hey, okay, now we get to see a little bit of that mid action, that the brick of the mid lane shows a little bit of melting into something interesting.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that happened. Sligo's ult is on cooldown. Have to think he just had a nice trade there. And then Kiori on respawn basically just ripped the rocket down mid lane. A little bit of saving grace after things have continued to go terribly in the bot lane. Second game in a row for Wixie and Busio to be taking EG to task. Oh no.
It's so gnarly seeing what they're able to do on their own, so I wonder what they'll be able to do if they have the support of Kenvi here. But it feels like wherever one jungler has been, the other one has been as well. But Tomio, knowing that Kyrie and Skytech, they don't want to play this too aggressively. They've been running into trouble in the 2v2 and don't know where the enemy jungler is, so instead just slow clearing this out.
Yeah, Kenvi trying to hover in the lane, but I think for the most part, EG's bot lane has learned their lesson. They want so badly to use this Rift Herald. I think they just have to come to terms with the fact that they're not going to get a great window to use it, and are going to have to go hide underneath their turret because Kenvi is still pressuring.
Oh, the connect. Wait, so last little hits for me. You know that. All right, you take it. You take it. You get the kill. We want you to have the gold, Wixie. This is best for you. So he finishes it off, and now is left to be able to finish off the turret as well, which gives Busio freedom to rotate with his jungler wherever the becking calls. And in this case, it's stacking that second Drake.
Yep, weak side Jace is in full effect. The lane did not go well initially. So they've kind of abandoned him now and said, all right, all the eggs in the Aphelios basket, which makes sense given how strong that he is. Grab the dragon. You're officially on your dragon stacking party now. And now they're going to rotate up to the top side. You see Carry, they're forced to use the Rift Herald in a pretty awful situation, but because the dragon take took a little bit longer, they shouldn't be able to get their bot lane up here in time to stop it from getting into turret.
Yeah, never got that chance to drop it down bot because of that pressure that Wixie and Busio were affording. Jimian nice and slide out of the way, and that's the complete turret knockdown over on the top side. Weak side Jace no longer has to be there. You can already see from base Gamsu making that rotation over towards bot to keep extending some of his farming capability. Tomio flashes in, brings down the storm, and doesn't even need to connect with the rocket right now. EG topside advantage secured.
Yeah, just not respecting the fact that they have total mid priority. You saw Jimian have to shift out of mid lane. They had control there. And you have to know that they're rotating up to the top side, given that you have so many wards in the bot lane. Wixie just not playing any respect, which means they actually get 2 turrets in the top lane. Come out so far ahead in that and actually finally get a gold lead back.
Yep, and even with this, Kenvi still goes in pursuit, but the entirety of EG, almost all of them that were there before, are still there. Knock up onto Kenvi, Jimmy over the wall, and ends up throwing down that burst divide. Busio is here to follow. Glacial Fissure to make the final knockdown onto Carry for Wixoy to get the kill credit. Tomio and Soligo, only ones alive. Soligo ends up flashing out, stun up, and the final hit. Wixie now 4-1 on the score. That's a beefy Aphelios going into the later stages.
Oh, who's baiting who in this extended sequence? He had EG thinking that, all right, we're going to track Kenvi, and he's going to try and go in on Koyori, and we're going to turn on him. And that was the plan, but the problem is the rest of the team is collapsing. You see the Braum and the Zir cutting through the jungle, and it takes a while to kill Lee Sin at this point in the game. And so while they are eventually going to finish him off, this is really well played by Jimmy and getting in there, getting the shuffle back, and then dropping the turret right here. So there's absolutely no way out for EG. They try and run south, and this TP, oh, just way too little too late. Have to give some credit to Wixie here as well, landing the last Q to make sure he gets the extended range auto attack. Hold on, we're back to killing each other.
Back to it. Tomio tries to slam down with the Stormbringer, but Jimmy, with that nice mobility, manages to get out. But still, this is dangerous territory for anyone to be. And this mid turret right now already chunked down to about 60%. You can see multiple members of 100 Thieves hovering around. Still a bit of time before that next wave comes through. Surdy and Gamsu left to their continuous matchup just down on that bot side.
Yeah, but it feels like this game is becoming not about the top laners unless they can find ways to get Surdy involved again. He is still 3-0. He has his Stride Breaker complete. I was wondering if he was going to go the more aggressive build with how all the fighter items have changed to drop a little bit of HP in favor of AD in a lot of them and just be slightly more aggressively tuned. But he goes to Stride Breaker instead. It's good against Jace and Wixie, who have no movement ability, so if you land the slow on them, it actually kind of locks them in place. He needs to become a big threat in this game, just like last time.
Willing to tank up the shots, activates the Dominus to get a heavy chunk onto Gamsu. Tomio's made his way through. Doesn't have the ultimate available, but does have a storm to still bring, so gets the kill on Gamsu.
Nice setup by Surdy, getting him low, so it's an easy cleanup kill for Tomio. Doesn't even need to use his ultimate, which is on cooldown anyways. But in the meantime, 100 Thieves already working on the top turret and the mid turret. Rift Herald drop down there. Gold going back and forth over and over again. It's another close game, just like the first one, which felt pretty back and forth as well.
A wavy line on the gold chart, much like the strands of my hair. So don't know who will be making the next big pull through because we're past plate territory. We're pressing onto 17 minutes within this game. After that next wave finally ushered through, Surdy was able to complete over on that bot side. So answering back on that turret that was just taken down mid in favor of 100 is crazy to see how Carry had to pilot that first Rift Herald, and they got so much value off of it, off of the two, but then a classic jungle pickup from Kenvi to split open what always feels good and cracking open that mid lane.
It's been pretty back and forth like we were saying, so taking state of everything going on right now, Wixie is absolutely the biggest threat in the game. Surdy is that on the other side, so it's about can Surdy kind of shut down Wixie with Tomio, or will he be peeled back? Because it is still a Braum and a Nazir, so compositionally, I do favor 100 Thieves at this point in the game with the fact that they have so many tools to protect their big threat, and the onus is not really on them to make a play happen. And they also have the dragon stacking in their favor, so they really want to make sure they get this third one to keep that win con chugging along.
5 seconds until it spawns as well. Surdy's been making the rotation to the opposite riverside so he can set up for a flank if need be. Teleport previously expelled from Jimmy N so he can get to the rest of 100 Thieves. EG first onto the Drake. But they know that the attention is coming from the enemy. Busio throws in a Q. Skytech dredge line onto the wall for little distance. Ends up getting the knock up onto the enemy support, but he's chunked down as well. Tomio launching himself out of the fight as much as possible because Surdy is the one to pick up the first kill, but they lose two in the process. Busio and Kenvi effectively brought out of the fight because of their low health. Carry, on the other hand, nice and strong to zone them off alongside Soligo. So even though they didn't get the final kill off onto a couple of the members of 100 Thieves, it's enough to push them back where they can rotate back onto the dragon, all the while Jimmy N choosing to push that wave in mid for a little bit of a trade in value.
Tunnel vision there by 100 Thieves Academy. They see how squishy Skytech is and they go, great, let's kill him. But you have Surdy right there. You have Tomio right there. Two giant beef the Bash brothers. So they jump in and just obliterate Wixie. There's no way to protect him there when you're already pinned in. And so Kaori and Sligo have a free ability to hit the back line. You already killed Wixie, who was the big threat, like we said. So even though you technically lost more people in the fight, you still won it, forced them out, and grabbed that dragon. You stopped the stacking now for the enemy team. And they were able to push those waves, like you said, but still feels like a win on the side of EG.
Definitely so. I mean, breaking into that momentum, talking last game about how important that momentum can be, and 100 Thieves, while they still do have a bit of the gold lead and that continued yo-yo back and forth, 1K in their favor, they do lose out on that win condition where we've seen Wixie and Busio, with the pressure they provide in that 2v2 bot, able to afford much more agency around those bot side neutral objectives. But now when we get into the team fight, going back to draft, talking about how strong the team fight can be from EG, enough to zone them off and break through that. So still a lot that can happen within this game as far as who pulls off the ultimate victory. Win conditions for both sides still available.
Right. I think the side of 100 Thieves have lost a little bit of one of their win cons, which is the Jace kind of early game slam. Renekton also an early game champion, but in terms of 1-3-1, neither of them are going to excel at split pushing at this point. Jace can sometimes do it if he gets ahead, but from behind, not going to happen. But Renekton won't be able to just, well, probably won't. At this point, it's 4-0-1. Maybe he can, but just brute force the Jace lane down. And it'll mostly come down to team fighting. The Orianna Jinx combination, can they land huge shockwaves with Tomi or Surdy whenever they go in and then reset through the fight? Or will those engages get stuffed by the Braum and Azir and allow the Aphelios to free hit?
And all of those ultimates are available to both sides. And it's Kenvi that goes in. Dragon's Rage to separate Skytech. That paper gets sliced. And they take out the support. 1 and 6. Skytech not having a great time in either of these early games. So we have seen him and the team turn it around. But it's the Baron that is the focus for 100 Thieves. Busio zoning out the remainder of EG. Surdy coming from the mid position. Teleport also in the bot side jungle. But Tomio sees it, has his eyes on it. The direct route onto Gamsu. Pulling through with the ultimate from Jinx. We'll get a nice chunk down as well. The Baron still being focused and still brought down. Kenfi with the smite to make sure it's secured. Surdy, Dominus activated, but a nice hop over the wall means that 100 Thieves separate themselves. Look at that blast back of damage. 1-for-1 trade so far. Mid laner for enemy jungler, but it's 100 Thieves on top with the Baron.
I can't believe 100 Thieves managed to get that Baron off just a pick onto the Nautilus, who is, at this point in the game, honestly pretty ignorable. It was a 4v5, true, but it's only 21 minutes into the game. They didn't take it that fast, and it felt like EG just didn't really contest until it was already down to about 2k, so while they shoved them out of the pit, you have Kenvi able to finish that off himself. He grabs that one, and in this fight, it's back and forth, it's 1-for-1. A nice ultimate there by Wixie kind of stuffs any potential follow-up, but I don't see why EG didn't go harder about pinning them in the pit when you have your Ori ult still up, you have Jinx ult still up. I think they took it a little lackadaisically contesting that Baron, and it allowed it to get low enough down that Kenvi could just finish it off himself.
The swiftness that we saw from EG in game number 1 in terms of immediately responding to the plays of 100 Thieves, not necessarily completely present in that moment, but something that we can expect them to maybe shore up on in the next clashing. So they do have to worry about this Baron buff that 100 Thieves now do have, because it'll give them an opportunity to start to push some of these in further.
This is a bit of a problem for 100 Thieves. They have good wave clear, but it will allow them to snowball to the side of 100 Thieves. Excuse me, EG is in trouble. 100 Thieves can snowball, take some of these turrets down, probably grab all the inners off this and end up with about a 5,000 gold lead, and then turn their attention onto the dragon. They're going to get so far ahead off this Baron take.
Yeah, the Azir turret definitely helps out in the mid lane when buying the time for the next wave to push through. Busio and Wixie making the rotations through top and mid so that they can continue to pressure as much as possible. Follow up with the Moonlight Vigil, was hoping that the Q would connect from Busio, but in the end, all it did was zone them off so they could complete that tier 2, which means Skytech is once again vulnerable. There's the teleport coming in from the Pixel Brush, but Surdy has to immediately back off in the previous direction. Busio doesn't quite connect, but now Skytech right at the center. They do manage to pop down Wixie before the rest of Stormbringer comes down. Gamsu taken off of the fight. Jimmy N going into stasis, but as soon as he erupts once more, does fall. Emperor's Divide cannot save him. EG continue the fight. Kenvi starting to create a little bit of distance with the help of that ward, goes over to the Gromp, and Gamsu is here. Flashes of the wall. Tomio has his sights on him once again, and EG still have the numbers advantage, but Gamsu a little too swift. He throws down the shot glass to return some of that fire, and can be still alive, but not much longer. A nice shot from Soligo to finish it off, and Gamsu still gonna be chased down right now. He's the only one alive from 100 Thieves, which means the Bears on the attack. A push back can't do it. And the delay, though, Wixie has come up, so it's not technically an ace, but a good play from EG.
Not technically an ace, but they wipe all 5 members, take all the Baron buffs off, and because Kiori could just go back mid lane, he actually grabbed 2 turrets. They are going to grab their second Drake on the back end of that, and it is all because of SkyTech. I mean, he's been getting blasted this entire game. He's 1-7-3, but he made the biggest play of the game so far for EG, getting to the pit, getting this Hex Flash over the wall, right on top of Wixie, giving them such an easy time shutting him down, and once he's dead, that's the biggest threat of the damage. They also were in a good position to follow up immediately onto the Azir, who's the only other character you have to make sure you kill in these fights, and then that extended chase down sequence gave the Jinx time to grab a ton of turrets. Guess where we are? Right back to even. 2 turrets, or excuse me, two dragons each, gold lead about equal. I don't know how we keep ending up in these situations in these games.
Oh, yeah, very, very similar to what we saw before. All right, Wixie and Busio, really great in laning phase, really managed to dominate against Carry and SkyTech. But then the later portions, EG, they just pull the trigger a couple times a bit better than 100 Thieves, and you can see that confidence rising within them, knowing, okay, we're still in this. We have broken now apart completely their dragon stacking, because those first 2 were taken by 100, now unable to secure the previous 2 for the Cloud Soul. So that win conditions eliminated here at 25 minutes. The Baron buff just kind of nullified there in the end off of that fight, and EG just have the chance to bring this back. Nice and even game.
Right, and Soligo quietly picked up a lot of kills in these sequences, so he's now 5-1-4, working on his 3rd item. We'll have Death Cap completed soon, so he's going to become a monster threat for comboing with Sturdy and Tomio whenever they go in and trying to insta-give Wixie, as we see again here. Hex Flash.
SkyTech over the wall.
I gotta say, I respect SkyTech so much. I mean, when you're 1-7-3, it can be hard to convince yourself to Hex Flash in aggressively. But that's what you need to do. You're playing this champion, even from behind. You have a job to do. It's get onto a priority target and kill them. And while you could hope that he would die this much in laning phase or something, but at least out of laning phase, he's showing that he's not getting, mental boomed from the laning phases and can actually still do his job even from this far behind.
It's one of those things that reminds you where KDA doesn't tell the full story when you think about where those deaths came from. So yeah, laning phase, something left to be desired, but here in the team fight, where even though he's still getting popped really early, does manage to get the pick.
Yeah, what's funny is he has only 4 kill participation, but they aced the other team off of his play. So
Yeah.
in that sense, it's like he hasn't even been there for the assist that he's helping actually generate from his play. So to that point about KD not being the whole story, absolutely. He's going to die at the start of a lot of these fights, so he won't be getting assists, even if he's the one who made the play that won the fight.
You love to see the team-oriented play from SkyTech. And going into the next time, there's still a couple flashes down from Tomio and Surdy, as well as Kenvi, Gamsu, and Jimien on the opposite side. Busio's will be just coming up in a bit of time, so you can see just how chaotic some of these last skirmishes have been. But ultimates all fully available. Turret once again helping Jimien and the squad push in this wave. And the next Baron has already spawned. We still have nearly a full 2 minutes until the next Drake, so 100 Thieves are going for it again. Last time around, able to achieve it off of a single pick. And they're committed to it. It's down. Telber coming in from try from Surdy. Do they try to go for the fight to take off some of these buffs as soon as they happen? A double knock up off of that Dread. But here we go. Glacial Fissure for the response onto Tomio. It's an eliminated top laner on the side of 100. So the rest of them just tried to retreat. They say we lost one of our buffs, but the rest of us are still standing strong.
Able to get out with only Gamsu dying, no flash available, but Busio lost his flash, Wixie lost his flash. It's hard to say exactly who comes out ahead. Obviously, a lot of gold from the Baron buff and the ability to grab more after, but you do gimp your future team fighting potential when you have to use that many summoners to get out with it. So even though EG, again, maybe a little lackadaisical, given that you're against Aphelios, Azir, probably one of the fastest Baron taking teams in the entire meta right now, combined with the Jace who has good damage. Like, these things are going to go down very quickly if you're not instantly putting pressure on them for starting it. But again, you know, they were able to respond well enough that I think they're still in a slightly better position than 100 Thieves.
Yeah, 100 Thieves do have the Baron buff for their power, but I mean, yeah, over on EG, you've got Guardian's Angel at the ready for Surdy here. Deathcap, that's completed for Soligo. So a couple stopwatches also available for the next team fight. So with EG being so confident in the way they've been able to follow up upon some of the Skytech engages, even if he's not there to remain, you can see them really taking advantage of the opportunities they do have and the advantages that are available to them. But Team 100 Thieves, it's a tight game, Mark. It's a tight game. Even gold again.
Yeah, it's super tight. The one advantage right now for 100 Thieves is the Baron buff on the mid-priority minion waves where they want to take this next fight around the dragon. They'll have the shove first just because you can clear so much easier without the Baron buff on their side. They're always hitting this thing over the wall. They're just trying to sneak this thing away while 100 Thieves want to push straight down mid lane.
And so EG's already committed so much to the Drake. They're definitely going to finish that off before they rotate here. That's a lot of damage from 100 Thieves, though, which means that inhibitor turret is definitely theirs for the taking. Can even start onto the inhibitor themselves. Soligo is here, has Shockwave available. If they do try to get some kind of collapse, Surdy is still over on the dragon side of the map, and 100 Thieves take their path through the jungle as their retreat. A nice prize of that mid inhib.
Nicely done. I think overall probably a small advantage to 100 Thieves off that. I mean, no matter what, this is going to come down to some crazy late game team fight. They continue to have pressure now for whenever they want to go into a side lane now. Mid lane will auto push, but it is EG on sole point. So if the game doesn't end in the next 4.5 minutes, 100 Thieves are going to need to win the next team fight to make sure that that's not the soul that they give over. And it's 4 Cloud Souls, excuse me, as well. So
yeah,
that's a fast-ass Volibear and Renekton trying to hop on top of your Aphelios. While it's not the highest in raw power, it's very good for what their win condition is.
You have late game territory, baby. And the last game getting cracked into the ending moments just off of that one fight that was over on the top side. It feels like we are in that kind of same vicinity. All right, who's going to come out more effectively in these next engages? And we've seen so much where Surdy's trying to position, using his teleport, trying to be very aware of the flank opportunities. And 100 Thieves on the other side, a little bit of patience needed from them.
Yeah, it's unfortunately one of those moments in the game where there's 2 minutes before either objective and neither team really has anything to do in the side lanes. All the inner turrets are down, basically, aside for that last one in the bot lane. So unless you're able to catch a member of the enemy team out on a warding mission, there's nothing you can force them to really respond to other than this mid lane super creeps, which honestly between Ori and Jinx get cleared out quick enough.
A little bit of PvE time. Just practice the clicking. Except for maybe now. Knock up onto Jimmy. Flash away from Skytech.
Pretty aggressive move from Skytech there, given that they don't have that much vision control in the river. Just taking that blast going in, thinking that he's going to be able to get that one out, has to flash out after Jimmy was going to pull them into the river. So I respect EG not looking at this as just complete downtime until the next major objective. They want to keep pressure up, but you still got to be a little careful about forcing that stuff blind.
Of a lot of teams, I do expect these two teams to be ones that do look for those chances, even if it is a little risky, it is a bit blind, but maybe kind of those antsy fingers wanting play to be happening. But sometimes it is just better to hurry up and wait. They know that this wave is crashing over towards mid with the super, so they'll want to clear that out, but it's not like they had to push up too aggressively for it. We still got a whole 2 minutes on the clock before the next Drake, and then 1 minute before the next Baron, which will be the big plays with the soul point achieved by EG, and then all of the Barons being so prioritized by 100 Thieves every single time, even though that last one, they didn't get to get so much value out of it.
No, but they've been good about forcing EG to respond to their Barons right away, and given the fact that they have the mid priority with the super creeps, they'll have the inside track on the Baron buff. And again, EG have been a little slow at being like, okay, you're on Baron, we need to stop you right now. So there's a chance that this Azir and Aphelios can just melt it for the 3rd time in a row.
And that's why the setup is starting to come in pretty early. 30 seconds to go on it, establishing some of that vision. Vision was already previously established by EG2, so they can see the rotations, but it's kind of the thing where you know what to expect when those timers are coming up. So 100 Thieves posing themselves for the potential fight here. Surdy does have that Unleashed teleport available, So even though he's pushing that bot wave, can join the fight on any occasion, especially if they get a good flank positioning up for him with some ward placement.
I like EG there, going all the way, pushing this wave as far as they can, but it does give 100 Thieves the opportunity to start this Baron buff off, but it's on a ward. They should know this is coming.
Rotation coming through from the majority of EG. There's the
again.
Teleport, but look, everybody's on it, and Gamsu's there to stop it. So, 100 Thieves, not even any contest necessary right now. They commit to the Baron, they get the play. Surdy's teleport was already utilized, does manage to get the kill onto Gamsu, activating his ultimate and swinging away at this turret, but the empowered backing from 100 means that they can answer Slow and Glacial Fissure directly onto the big old crocodile. GA pops, EG bringing their power towards the mid lane though. They crack through one of the turrets, but looks like they want to try and find something over on this mid side. Surdy does go down before they can find their rotation though. Look at that heavy slight carry, barely survives. Some nice shielding here after the fact from Soligo to make sure they can't have a follow-up pop, but Kenvi, he's in the vicinity, can't quite follow up yet though, so a bit of a split off.
And that means Dragon's gonna go over to 100 Thieves most likely, unless Tomio can find a flash steal. Nope, he's not gonna go for it, so no Dragon Soul. Baron over to EG for the third time. Mid inhibitor drops to just the creeps that were pushed up there. That was an insane little sequence where Gamsu died for interrupting Surdy's TP, which honestly he didn't really need to do. They already took the Baron down, and the TP was coming in the middle of them. You almost thought you could have just let the Renekton finish it, and then they just killed the Renekton.
That's what I thought he was just gonna go in and get blasted, honestly.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna let it go, and Gamsu dies for it, and it does bait Surdy into overstaying bot lane with the enhanced recalls, and a nice Q from Busio that tagged him allowed the chase down onto Surdy, and then Wixie's huge ultimate basically got them the third dragon for themselves.
Whew. Man, I think that when you're looking at these last Barons, and it's been such a clear game plan. Oh, might get a little bit of action here though, can be getting chunked, but 100 Thieves have made the rotation through every single time. EG maybe not as certain in how they want to respond to it in those cases, and a little bit of that hesitation leaving that window for the objective take for 100, but one Baron buff short.
I'm just worried that this is going to lead to one of those, like, it's the next 5 minutes don't matter again, because the mid inhibitor being down for 100 Thieves means it's going to be hard for them to get a ton of pressure in the game. They're going to have to keep going back to respond to this. They grab the inner in the bot lane, but you know, that the Baron buff will time out in about another minute. So they're probably not going to get an inhibitor with it. Neither team has the soul point. So it's going to be hard for either team to get a foothold to force the enemy into a situation where they get a lead again until that comes back up. It's on the same exact timer basically as Baron as well, which means potentially a split race. We'll have to see. I mean, this is one of those games where you kind of throw out most of your scrims. They almost never get into game states like this. So these young players probably do not have very much experience coordinating how to win a game from this position.
Which is why a lot of times on the academy games and such, you'll see the games extend into kind of these later minutes when they don't end around that 30-minute mark, because it's okay. There's the two parts to getting the objective, right? All right, we got the Baron. But then, yeah, we can't really do much with the Baron now. All right, so what's the next play that we make? If we're not going to make anything around this, then yeah, I guess we wait it out. And it becomes difficult to see what the end game is for you besides just winning out in one of the team fights and trying to make sure that you have all of your resources up and that nobody gets caught out. That becomes one of the biggest focuses. Don't get caught out. Don't get hooked.
Yeah.
Don't be too overextended. All right, teleport coming in. 100 just for some additional support. They couldn't finish off that inhibitor because of the wave coming up, and a lot of EG making sure to play fairly defensively. So again, not much gained in this point in time, and no more Baron buff either.
I thought for a moment there EG were going to be able to get a small advantage. They forced the ult and TP out of Jimmy, which technically is still an advantage. The ult will come back up, but the TP won't be available for whenever they get into this next objective standoff situation. But EG just barely didn't finish that inhibitor off. I kind of feel like they maybe should have risked a little bit more for it, because it does become a big deal when you're in this objective standoff and the enemy team is going to have to respond to your waves. You know, it's so low. It's also regenerated a little bit since where it would have been at. So it was even lower a moment before. And your inhibitor, I think, is coming up relatively soon as well. So you would start getting an advantage on the super creeps. You can see that wave is actually a cannon wave, which is the last time. I think it's the last. There's one more super creep coming actually for the EG side.
EG just really have to keep rotating to respond to where 100 Thieves try moving the most of their members. But yeah, I think we're just in for a bit of that slower part of this. How do you feel when you're in a game state like this, Mark? You're like, all right.
When I was coaching?
Yeah.
Yeah, sick to my stomach. That's how I feel usually. It's one of those things where, you know, the game's on a knife's edge. Any pick off, any kill, especially on any of the core members, but realistically, anyone at this point can be the end of the game for you. Even the Braum dying is like, okay, now we have no peel, and they just like brute force the next team fight right through where the Braum should have been. So these are the kinds of things where you're hoping everyone is communicating well. You have to keep track of cooldowns, but when it's this slow, basically every single thing in the game is up. You can see all summoners, all ultimates, basically available for both teams.
Exactly. So I get so scared because of exactly what you say. You're like, all right, they got everything, but if that Ori gets caught right at the top and you don't have that, or, you know, in the opposite direction, oh no, we don't have Wixie anymore. So a lot of them are going to keep their eyes on the most powerful carry on the opposite side and see who decides to engage first. The majority of EG just upshoring up with this wave. Coming out of the bush side is where most of 100 Thieves are. But the Baron's up once again. First time we're seeing the rotation from EG before 100 Thieves, mostly because of the positioning. Not the same level of burn down on this, though. So while they are hitting it, 100 Thieves are here, and there's likely to be a peel off if necessary. Tomio not just taking damage from the Baron, but a lot of things like the Qs from the Jace as well that you have to worry about. Surdy wants to draw as much of their attention in the back of the pit as possible. But Kenvi goes in! He steals it! He gets the smite! So instead, Moonlight Vigil to get a nice chunk onto Tomio, but EG punished for focusing onto that, and 100 Thieves just waited back and said, okay, thank you, I'll take that now.
Yeah, they finished that one off. Nice steal by Kenvi, and because multiple members of EG got chunked low while doing it, this means they also are going to be able to grab the Dragon Soul as well. They're just leaving Gamsu alone to solo it, while they immediately put their Baron to work, shoving in the mid and bot lane.
This is the fourth Baron
Yes.
for 100 Thieves.
Yes, it is.
Baron number 4, max number of Drakes available. Finally, Dragon Soul claimed here in the Cloud Soul at 41 minutes for 100 Thieves. So eventually we'll get an Elder in about 540's time. But man, this is definitely one of those long haul games where now you think, okay, you've got a fourth Baron. What you gonna do with this one? Still gonna come down to a pretty impressive team fight.
Yeah, at some point, EG gonna have to try and find a kill onto Wixie again, most likely. He's at 6 items, both of the carries at 6 items. The Ori slightly weaker, not hitting 6 items quite yet. Surdy does have his 6 items. Jace basically at 6 items, just needs to finish off Mortal Reminder, I believe it is, or whatever he's gonna go with the Grievous Wounds item. And we'll have to see from there. It's just, can this siege actually work? They're so scared to actually walk forward and siege these inhibitor turrets, even though they have their 4th Baron of the game. They're just terrified of getting flanked by Tomio, as that's exactly what he's going for here.
That's been the reason too, right? We're looking at 100 Thieves with their 4th Baron, but it's difficult for them to stand up because you've got Tomio that's got the Ori ball ready to deliver for an explosive shockwave and follow it from the team. So because of that high level of engage, 100 Thieves are making sure to be very tempered in their play so nobody gets caught out, because at this point in time, the timers are long. Both bases have been cracked through to a degree. Even though that inhibitor is up on 100 Thieves side, it doesn't take much for EG to be able to march down and punish them for overextending. So instead, spreading across mid and top right here to try and crash this in as much as possible.
Trying to use a bit of the pressure from mid lane to force onto EG from sliding over there, but there's just so much wave clear available with the Runaan's Hurricane Jinx. With rockets, she kind of clears the waves relatively quickly. Same with Orianna. It's just very scary to walk on top of an Ori ball, so they're just struggling to find an angle to really start hitting this turret. Super creeps in mid lane are too easily dealt with this late into the game. They're no longer these like insanely tanky things. I mean, Jinx can kind of just chop them down just like that.
And those ranged champions on the side of EG, whether it's Jinx and Orianna, just can create so much of that distance, and 100 Thieves, difficult for them to find that opening. But My, oh my. I'm just waiting for that one big explosion. That's really what I'm looking for. And you can see Tomio looking for it consistently, wanting to try and find the pick, but nothing really baited into them just yet.
You have to posture aggressively on Tomio to actually buy the space for your team to clear waves. Your job is to be the meatball, be in the front line, press your Q and run around on all fours real menacingly so the enemy backs up a little bit, so then your carries can go up and hit the waves. And like you said, this is probably going for the Elder, going to 46, 47 minutes before we see a real conflict, because Baron, 4 Barons, you know, it's just realistically not enough to end the game, of course.
Never, ever enough. Got to get that Elder, that Execute, to bring just that next level of explosive fashion to the next fight. So Surdy just trying to clear out some of the wards there. Just typical fashion from 100 Thieves, pushing these in, just establishing any vision across the paths towards that Elder. Of course, it'll expire by that time, but they just want to make sure EG can't, you know, rotate and pick them off. Looks like everyone's moving as a team, whether they're on 100 Thieves or EG. We all hold hands as we move across the outskirts of this base.
There's an opportunity there, maybe. Tomio was trying to get behind the Azir, but Blue Trinket, he saw that. 100 Thieves started collapsing. They both have to back off. They're just pinned in their base right now for EG side. There's enough good vision from 100 Thieves that there's no angle for anyone to try and find the flank. Tomio keeps trying, you see, but he keeps getting spotted out every time he goes and looks for this flank.
Gamsu already there to slam down on him. Doesn't quite connect with the Q to left. Probably also waiting.
Oh.
Can we chunk down someone enough for a chance to try and break through this? Skytech on the outskirts. Jumping in with the Stormbringer. Knock up over onto the Aphelios on the opposite side. GA popped right now. So we're finally going to get a little bit of action coming back into it. The stun up and the route to follow onto Kenvi. Blasted by the Jinx ultimate as well. Surdy Dominus activated. And now the target of Gamsu pushes into the rest of the fight. Jimmy N gets one. It's only a 2-for-1 right now. Double kill from the 100 Thieves mid laner. 100 Thieves coming out on top. Will it be the ace, the place for the red team? Soligo on the retreat, but even if he doesn't die, he still cannot stand strong for the rest of the team. Manages to get the return on Jimmy N, teleporting onto his Nexus turret just to do his good thing as a mid laner and stand with his Nexus as the turrets fall and 100 Thieves, 4 Barons in, managed to end the game before getting to Elder territory. Let's go.
Wixie with a nice flash out on the flank attempt by Skytech, able to get over the wall and stay alive in the last-ditch effort by EG. And yeah, like you said, that's how that game ends. That many objectives, and it's just a random mid-fight over nothing?
Oh, man.
What?
Yeah, it felt so weird where it's that nothing is happening, but I'm also so scrunched up and on the edge, like just waiting for that thing to happen, and you don't know exactly what it's going to look like, and that's what it looked like. So
I was saying it was hard for them to find a flank opportunity. Skytech did find a path through to get behind, and he could get a flash ult onto Wixie, but starting with your ult on Nautilus is something that gives the enemy a fair amount of time to react to, and Wixie could kite far enough away from the rest of the team that he got out and was able to just finish off EG as they kind of funneled in slowly.
Oh, man. That's definitely takes a lot of energy management and things from both sides. What a showing from both of these teams. 100 Thieves managing to bring it back, to bring EG's faded score of 1-1, their story of last year, now coming into this time now. But we're going to kick it to a break, everybody. On the other side, we'll be getting you geared up for our last matchup of the day. See you there.